I'm beginning a project of building some arts and crafts bedside tables for our bedroom. This is the prototype I made out of scrap wood, pallets and crates I picked up at work and cleaned up. I did that to make sure I had all the proportions right and knew how to make all the cuts, and now I'm ready to begin the real thing. My family has asked me to make a video of some of my woodworking, so I thought I would give it a try. The prototype was made out of pine, but this is a stack of Honduran mahogany that I picked up and put in my shop. Been here stickered and stacked for several months. Should be pretty well acclimated to my shop. It's also sometimes referred to as genuine mahogany. I prefer the name Honduran mahogany because I'm not sure what genuine mahogany means. So this is what I'll be using to make the tables. I'm going to make two of them. I may have overbought, but we'll see. Here's my plan, a little shop drawing I made. I got my inspiration from a picture of a table I saw on the internet, but it didn't have any drawings, so I made my own based on what I could decipher from the picture. I've also created my cut list, so we're ready to get started and start looking through the stack of wood and picking out the right pieces. I've laid out some of the boards on my workbench of the mahogany, and looking through those, I'm going to try to start with the slats that go on the side. And these are pretty narrow boards. Some of the wider ones I'll probably use for the top and the shelf. The thicker boards down there on the bottom of the stack, I showed you a while ago, they're 2 inches thick. I'll use for the legs, because I want them to be 1 3/4 inches square. So now it's time to start measuring and see if how many of these boards I can get out of each one. So this is 54 inches long, and according to my cut list, the style or the slats are 14.5 inches long, so I can get 3 lengths out of each one with minimum amount of waste. They're 3/4 of an inch thick, so I can get this is a little bit over 6 inches. By the time I plane it and join it, it's not going to be a full 6 inches, so I can probably get 3. So 3 times 3, I can get 9. I need 16 per table. So I'm probably going to have to find at least one more board so I can get 18 out of these 2 boards. And as soon as I decide on another board, then we'll start the preparation. And that's the next step. We'll start to prepare the wood by joining the edges and joining one surface. Then I'll take it to the surface planer and smooth the other surface, so we have both sides parallel and both sides flat and parallel. Okay, in the previous part of this video, when I was looking at these boards, I misfigured, and I can get approximately 21 slats out of each board. I only need 32, so that would give me 42 slats. So, those are the 2 boards I use for the slats. I'll save the wider ones for the bigger, flatter surfaces and for some later projects where I need good wide boards for tabletops or panels. So the next step would be to cut these to rough size so I can handle them in my jointer and planer. I can't really plane anything less than 12 inches in length. So what I will do is probably cut these down so that probably half the length they are now, just to make them easier to handle. I'll make sure that one length is enough for 2 lengths of the slats, and then the other one obviously be 1 with some left over. So I'll cut those down, measure them and cut them down, and then I will probably on Saturday roll my jointer and planer out and get started shaping or milling the wood down to useful size. So then I'll start looking at the material for the top. I've got some really nice wide boards. I need to get down to the thick 2-inch thick lumber and start cutting the legs out of that as well. Now here's a really nice board for the top. It's It's got some nice figure in it. That's a very nice top. Fortunately, it also got a very large check in the end of it. Well, that much of board for the top is going to be wasted. I can salvage some of it for a smaller project later on. It's also got a small check on this end, but it's wide enough, and even between the checks, I think it's long enough to get one complete top out of it. And then here's another board. It's a pretty nice board. It's got some good grain figure in it as well, so I'll probably get the other top out of that one. So that would probably be Saturday's project, is getting the slats and the two tops machined to size, and move on to the legs and the rails and the aprons. What I'm getting ready to do right now is to cut these wider boards down to a size I can manage on my joiner. They're too wide to cut on my compound miter saw, and they're pretty big and unwieldy, so what I've got on my table saw right now is my crosscut sled. It allows me to safely handle these wider pieces of stock without having to worry about flyback from the saw if they should move on you. You just can't do them with a regular miter gauge, so I built this jig for handling plywood and wider pieces of stock. So I'm getting ready to cut the checked ends off of this board, and then I'll mark it and cut it into two pieces along with the other one that I can handle on my planer and joiner. Normally I would make sure that at least one edge was jointed before I do this, so that I get a good square cut across the ends. But these are too big to even handle in my joiner. So I'm just going to cut the check part off, and then I'll rough cut them oversized, and then once I get them jointed down, I'll square up the ends. I won't be talking while I'm doing this because it's probably going to be pretty loud. Not sure what happened on that last one. Sometimes when you're cutting a new board, it releases some internal tensions, but I felt some resistance and funny sound from the saw, so I just backed off, turned it off, repositioned things, cut it again, and it seemed to go okay. So I'm going to try again on this one.